Honestly, have you ever sat in a meeting where everything looked perfect on paper? The numbers were right, the timeline was aggressive, the efficiency gains were massive, but something in your gut just felt off? You look around the room and everyone is nodding, ready to sign off, but you're stuck on a single detail about where a material is coming from or how a certain subcontractor operates. In that moment, the pressure to just say yes and keep the momentum going is almost overwhelming. We've all been there, Aisemuja included. We want to be the team player, the one who gets things done. But today, I want to talk about why that gut feeling is actually your most important leadership tool and why the most boring part of your business, the contracts and the supply chain, is actually where your soul as an organization lives. Here's a hard truth we need to face. An organization's values aren't actually visible on its website. They aren't in those beautiful mission statements or the About Us page with the stock photos of people smiling. No. Values are visible in your transactions. They are visible in the suppliers you choose to reward, the practices you decide to overlook because the price is right, and the questions you avoid asking when commercial pressure starts to rise. If you really want to know what a company stands for, don't ask for their code of conduct. Ask to see their supply chain. Because a code of conduct tells us what an organization hopes to represent, but a supply chain shows us what they are actually prepared to support. And honestly, the difference between those two things reveals almost everything we need to know about leadership. Values are so easy to celebrate when they're convenient, right? It's easy to talk about integrity when it's making you money, but integrity only becomes meaningful when it actually demands something from you. I'm talking about the stuff that hurts, a slower process, a more difficult conversation with a stakeholder, a higher cost, or even a delayed launch. Sometimes it means looking at a highly profitable opportunity and saying, we aren't going to pursue this. That's the moment values stop being just language and start being leadership. It's about having the courage to challenge a decision that everyone else is ready to approve. It's hard, I know, but it's the only way to ensure your values aren't just posters on a wall. Think about what we really fund when we sign a contract. We often say we want to shape the market, right? We want better suppliers, more transparency, fairer labor standards. But markets aren't transformed by our good intentions. They're transformed by incentives. Every time your organization spends money, you are creating an incentive. A purchasing decision is never just a transaction, it's a reward. You are telling a supplier that their specific way of operating is commercially valuable. You're telling the market that their business model deserves to survive. So if a company speaks passionately about transparency but keeps rewarding opaque suppliers, what is it actually doing? It's making opacity economically attractive. It's funding the very thing it claims to oppose. It's a difficult reality to sit with, but the market doesn't learn from what you say. It learns from what you repeatedly approve. Your suppliers are watching you. Your employees are watching. Your competitors are watching. They're all learning where your real boundaries are. They notice when a compliance report is incomplete, but the project moves forward anyway. They notice when a subcontractor can't be identified, but the issue quietly disappears into an email chain. They're observing what happens when things get uncomfortable. Does your commitment to human rights survive when production falls behind schedule? Does your environmental standards stay firm when the responsible alternative gets more expensive? This is how you communicate your real priorities, not through speeches, but through consequences. Now, you might be thinking, Aisemuje, procurement is just a technical function. It's about cost and efficiency. Well, actually, let me put it this way. Procurement is where your moral language enters economic reality. It's the place where your principles become contractual requirements. It's where leadership becomes visible through action. Every contract has a moral dimension because every contract affects human behavior. It determines who receives resources and which future becomes slightly more likely. So, the real question isn't just what are we buying? The more important question is, what are we making possible through the way we buy? What kind of system are we quietly strengthening with our budget? I want to talk about how we lose our way, because it's rarely a dramatic act of malice. Ethical decline usually starts with a tiny exception. Maybe a report is missing, but the deadline is tomorrow, or a labor issue is raised, but replacing the supplier would be a nightmare. Someone says, "Those 3 dangerous words, just this once." It sounds practical, doesn't it? But exceptions are the most powerful teachers in an organization. The first exception feels a bit wrong, the second feels familiar. By the third, it's just the way we do things. This is how standards are weakened, through pressure, fatigue, and repetition. Silence in these moments isn't neutral. It creates permission. If leadership stays silent, the system understands that the behavior is acceptable, and people will organize their lives around that reality. One thing I've noticed in my coaching is how we use language to make harm invisible. We've become experts at this. Instead of talking about human consequences, we talk about operational concerns. Environmental damage becomes a cost variable. Exploitative labor is framed as a supplier performance issue. We make the language cleaner, more professional, more abstract. This is called ethical fading. The moral dimension of a decision slowly disappears because we've framed it entirely in commercial or technical terms. No one has to consciously abandon their values, they just stop seeing them. As a leader, your job is to restore those dimensions. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Who carries the hidden cost here? Who becomes more vulnerable because of this decision? Would we be comfortable explaining the full reality of this choice in public? And then there's the cult of speed. We treat speed as an absolute virtue, faster sourcing, faster growth, faster everything. But let's be honest, speed is not wisdom. Efficiency is not judgment. You can have a process that is incredibly efficient but ethically empty. Sometimes slowing down isn't bureaucracy, it's intelligence. Taking a pause creates the space for judgment. A difficult question might reveal a risk that speed was trying to hide. Responsible leadership understands that some friction is actually good. It protects the organization. If we're moving faster but becoming less thoughtful and less trustworthy, are we actually making progress, or are we just moving toward a cliff at a higher velocity? This becomes even more critical as we bring AI into our supply chains and procurement. AI is amazing at spotting patterns and predicting delays, but let's be very clear. Technology cannot accept moral responsibility. An algorithm can't decide what kind of market deserves to exist. A dashboard can't protect human dignity. The more we automate our decisions, the more we need to define human accountability. Every significant decision needs a named human owner, someone who can challenge the recommendation and recognize what the data is missing. Responsible technology doesn't remove people from the equation. It makes our judgment more important than ever. We have to ask, should this decision be delegated, and who is responsible for the fallout? None of this works, though, if people are afraid to speak up. Policies and AI aren't enough if truth can't reach power. Can someone in your organization question a profitable supplier without it being a career-limiting move? Can an employee raise a concern without being labeled as difficult or not a team player? Many massive corporate failures start when people learn that honesty carries a professional cost. When agreement becomes safer than judgment, silence becomes the rational choice, but don't confuse that silence with confidence. Consensus isn't always wisdom, sometimes it's just suppressed doubt. Psychological safety isn't just a nice-to-have culture benefit, it's a critical part of your risk infrastructure. So how do you, as a leader, respond when the truth is inconvenient? Do you get defensive? Do you treat scrutiny as resistance? Or do you protect the person who had the courage to speak up? People are watching those moments. They remember if integrity was protected when it became expensive. Culture isn't what you say in the annual report, it's what your systems reward. If your bonuses only reward speed and savings, then ethical quality will eventually evaporate. We have to design our incentives so that they make responsible behavior possible. We need to reward the people who protect long-term value, even if it means missing a short-term target. I want to give you permission today to do something that feels like a failure but is actually a massive win, the courage to walk away. Say no to the supplier who refuses transparency. Say no to the tech that lacks accountability. Say no to the margin improvement that relies on someone else carrying an unacceptable cost. Walking away isn't a failure to negotiate, it's the clearest expression of leadership there is. The cost of saying no is easy to calculate, but the value of what you're protecting, your trust, your credibility, your institutional coherence, is immeasurable. Ethical leadership requires a longer horizon. It's about asking, what behavior will this decision produce tomorrow? There is a really hopeful side to all of this. If procurement has the power to fund irresponsible systems, it also has the power to build better ones. Every sourcing decision you make can reward transparency. Every contract can protect dignity. When you support a responsible partner, you make integrity a market advantage. You are literally designing the market of the future. Markets aren't distant forces, they are built by us. Through our incentives, our acceptances, and our refusals, every approval strengthens something. Every silence protects something. You have the power to decide which behaviors deserve access to your resources. So here is my try this for you today. The next time a contract arrives on your desk for approval, I want you to pause. Don't just look at the price and the delivery date. Ask yourself, is the behavior behind this price acceptable? Is the system behind this service something I'd be proud to explain to my family? If no one ever praised you for making the right choice, would you still make it? Ethical leadership is the discipline of staying truthful when nobody is watching. It's the courage to define a boundary before a crisis forces you to. It's about building an organization where truth is strong enough to survive power. Remember, every contract is a vote. It's a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. Let's vote for dignity. Let's vote for transparency. Let's vote for growth that doesn't require us to lose our humanity along the way. You have more influence than you realize. Your budget is a tool for change. Use it with clarity and use it with courage. Thank you for spending this time with me today. It's not easy to challenge the status quo, but it is so worth it. Until next time, lead with your values, question the convenient path, and choose very carefully what you allow to become normal in your organization. You've got this.